Imagine you're working 12-hour days and you're still not hitting your goal. Close to burning out and still not hitting your goals. This is why. The truth is, hustle culture has become and has been a huge part of our society. And the way that the world really runs is by hustle culture is taught to either go to work or school or even start a business and to grind until you cannot work anymore. And the truth is, that's not working anymore. If you went along with the notion that we have to work these 12-hour days and to have less time with our families, have less time for sleep work or even self care, that all of those things, all that stress leads to burnout, and burnout leads to you not being able to accomplish your goals in the first place. That is the reality for a lot of people who are working today, especially ladies who are trying to start a life for themselves or even have been working their entire lives. And the truth is, this video is for men and women, but we're going to be talking about masculine energy and what it means to be a creative and then also to be a person who is a go getter. And in our society, we have this notion where as though it's hustle culture, is drive nonstop, and not leaving enough time for things like sleep or family or literally anything else outside of work. We're taught and it's literally studied that we're becoming more and more reliant on workplace relationships as well as work and our lives surrounding around and revolving around work in order to fulfill our needs. And that's not quite how life is supposed to go, especially for people who don't inspire. No one inspires to work. They just want the outcome of the work. And so we did do, women and men have been taught this notion in our society that we have to work. So we do the work. And then you go and do the 12-hour shifts. And then you do overtime. And then you do all of these things. But then at the end, you are still burnt out and even more so stressed than when you started. And that, my friends, is masculine energy, drive, and overdrive. And that is what we're relying on in order to fuel our society, to fuel ourselves, to push harder, to never stop, and to not even give yourself time for rest. But problem with this, but there's a problem with that type of growth. Endless growth is not sustainable. And more importantly, if we really think about it, is it really growth? When you push yourself to a limit, but then you neglect the one thing, which is sleep or rest? I would say no. And I speak from a place of self experience of having been that person grinding 60-hour work weeks nonstop and then being left with no results in order to back up the work that I had put in. And I had to really look and see what the issue was. I was tired. I was super, what the issue was. When you grow and you decide to put in all of this work and effort and you don't see results, what happens? Resentment starts, as well as also the stress of why the work isn't coming out as how you desired it to be. And the truth is that desperate energy and also the energy of burnout in itself had started to repel customers and clients to the point where as though the amount of work that I was putting in didn't actually equate to the outcome of the result that I want. And today I work a lot less hours, but I try to be a lot more intentional. And that's really what uh, the one thing that I do now is I work a lot less and I make more money. And this is what's changed. The moment that I stopped forcing these outcomes and stopped forcing these connections or forcing the work to happen, things started to actually happen. And here's the difference: masculine energy says to work until you can't because you're lazy, because if you don't work, then you're this way or that way. And instead, feminine energy says, let's flow, let's make time for rest, but also thinking of the whole as opposed to just the one aspect, which is the grind. And this really leads me to the first point, which is that rest in itself, believe it or not, is very productive. Resting is quite literally a cycle, and it's like a winter, basically. That energy of rest is like something that's unwinding. And us, we are all, humans are cyclical beings. We run on cycles. The season runs on cycles. But when we're out of alignment with that feminine energy that resides within every single person, everyone watching it, it really takes it into effect the aspect that if you can't honor that time when your body needs rest, your body's going to do that. And also, strategy beats the effort. It beats the strongest person at, and working smarter, not harder is super important as well. And this is one of the reasons why I also have stopped chasing clients. The productivity and also the resting part. Let me tell you guys, as someone who's been a freelancer and someone who's also is currently a designer, I've been doing this for around the past 2 years now of designing for clients. But I've worked with the clients for years now. Go and I would chase clients. Hey, how did the interview go? Hey, the interview, when can I talk to you next? What's the next steps? And then really chasing, hounding this possibility or potential opportunity into existence, basically. And what happened is a lot of those opportunities that I had were not necessarily aligned to I wanted to do long term, because I had forced it and I had literally the drive in order to close the sale, to fulfill this order, and to really strike down any other option or opportunity that came my way. And what that led me to be was, yes, being able to convince people that I am the person that they want to work with, that they want to be a part of their company. But it also led me to realizing that, hey, I'm actually not happy in this role. And that's one of the biggest parts of the shift for me, is realizing that, hey, what if you didn't have to run after these clients? What if you didn't have to force sales or getting out of breath about a particular outcome, and just letting it flow to you instead? And in my mind, the main thing that was the main drive behind this was believing that more effort, more intensity, more high octane focus, and nothing else outside of that focus mattered, had actually led to not more money or more results, but had actually dealt with the opposite. And that opposite and that shift for me was making or trying to make better decisions. And that actually led instead to being in my own feminine and really seeing the option really line up for me, because of the fact that I wasn't running after clients anymore. I was posting my work and being a lot more confident, building out portfolio, or even reaching out to people who I knew would be intentional about possibly working together. And that was the biggest shift for me, of understanding why hustle culture and how hustle culture does keep you broke, especially if you're someone who's just starting out and you're super hungry for things, but then you wind up putting your energy in the wrong places. And really understanding that production is very productive, so is strategizing. And this leads me to the next point. Strategizing is super important for overall growth, and whether that be for a business, your career, if you are a career oriented person, for anything that you're doing, having a good strategy and the best strategy possible. And that's not saying you have to strategize until you're, instead of taking action, that is where that masculine energy actually comes in and actually helps you to take that action towards whatever it is that you want to do. But balancing out the femininity of needing that productivity levels, and prioritizing rest, and the strategy that comes along with being able to do less and to have more because you decided to strategize. And strategy will beat effort 9 times out of 10, especially that. There's a saying where it says that around, I believe it's 70 or 80% of the effort that you make actually winds up going nowhere. And it's just that little tiny sliver of that 20%. But my main thing is, what if you could put in more work, or put in less work and more strategy, in order to have that 20% become the 80%? And really putting yourself out there, even on social media, even though it's super awkward at first, of being that cringe person who keeps posting their work. Attracting those clients that way is super important for working a lot less and not necessarily having to wonder where the next opportunity is coming from. Not worrying necessarily where the next opportunity is coming from, who it's going to come from, when it's going to come, and really just being able to sit back and smell the flowers, or to do something, ship more things, as opposed to just wonder what is going to actually pan out. And that is one of the biggest things for me personally that I've experienced. I really want to hear from a lot of you guys in the comments who have been working. A lot of people who watch my videos are designers themselves, freelancers, wanting to become a freelancer because they can't find job, and also just regular career people, as well as entrepreneurs mainly who watch my videos. And if you're one of those people who is building something or working towards something and very passionate about it, understanding that exhaustion is one of those things that is not the badge of honor that we crack it up to be. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh wow, you worked so hard, but it's one of those things that your body, and as well as sometimes the effort and the things that you're already building, is crying out for you to quite literally take a chill pill and getting the necessary rest in order for you to even be more productive. And studies will show having good sleep every single day and being able to get in a correct nutrition, the correct rest at a good time, that's so important. And really attracting those things as opposed to chasing and burning out. And stop hustling yourself into burnout if you're one of those people who is wanting to do any of those things that I just said, because it's not all that it's cracked up to be. And that focus really comes from building something that is aligned with you, that doesn't work against you in terms of your energy levels and in terms of that. And sometimes when you find yourself in those positions, it's not necessarily the end all be all, but it's an opportunity to find something that is even more aligned with you. And that is where also the flow stage come in. The flow stage always comes in there, and being able to reach that flow stage for every individual person watching this may be different. Meditation, yoga, all of these things that really can help you personally build off and understanding where your productivity lies and what really drives you, and leaning into that along with being able to rest and being in your own feminine energy, as well as your positive and driven masculine energy, and being able to balance them all out while also maintaining and running a brand or a business. So if that sounds like you guys, definitely comment what you personally do to keep yourself in that flow stage and to be aligned with what it is that you desire for yourself. And let me guys know if anything resonated with this video. I really try to make videos that are super aligned for freelancers and then entrepreneurs and all of you beautiful people watching. Let me comment and let me guys know what you thought about this video, and also comment some stuff that's been triggering you and you want me to make a video about. Bye guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.